Hello and welcome to this EYELarp special episode. It's a really fun episode. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of phone interference at certain points in the interview. Some of the stuff is so good that I was thinking I was going to cut it out, but it's so good I think I'm going to just keep it in and let you guys skip it if it's too distracting for you. So it kind of kicks in at around 51, 52 minutes. And then continues on intermittently until around 1 hour, 22 minutes, 23 minutes, something like that. There is a little bit more in the episode, but it's very minor and intermittent. But like I said, there's good stuff in there, mainly talking about the different events that EYELarp run. But I will be putting their website in the description if you wanted to go and look at what they do. I had a really good time talking to both Johnny and Kitty, so hopefully you will enjoy listening to it. Anyway, on with the episode. Hello and welcome to the LARP News podcast. My name is Dave, and today I've come down to Eversley to interview a couple of game orgs. Is the cool way to describe them. Yeah. I'm here with Johnny and Katie. Kitty.
Right. Yeah, organisers, game runners.
Yeah, I think we usually would go game runners, which actually sounds a bit more, I don't know, sci-fi. But we're very low tech here, aren't we? So
yeah, I've actually been kind of lucky enough to actually attend one of your events.
One of our events,
Flying Lead, which was the movie cowboy LARP, which I absolutely fucking loved. We did an episode on it. It's probably a couple of episodes ago, but if you check that out, I had an absolute fucking blast, basically. Yeah. I loved so many aspects of the game. I've been to this site now a couple of times because I went to the Northern Kingdoms event down here. And even just coming here now, we're in the Viking village right now, which is, if you picture it as a large fire pit surrounded by shacks with a palisade wall around it. It's wonderfully atmospheric and just feels great being back here. There's good vibes here. How long have you been kind of running? How long have you been LARPing for, and how did that transition into kind of running
definitely
games?
Two different
okay, there's two different times of time. I've been LARPing since I was 16. I'm now 34.
Yeah.
So I got into LARP because of my aunt does it. Got taken to PD's Maelstrom, very first event. Got hooked. Just started doing pretty much all PD's events, and then started doing smaller events, and then came to EYELarp as a player, and then slowly went from player to crew, and then just got handed it in a way, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We both started. Well, I say we both played a Buccaneers of the Damned, which was the old pirate game that ran here in 2015, I think.
I think it was around that time.
And then we both started crewing. You probably crewed a bit more than I did because you were local later in that year. And then we started dating the following year. Yeah. And then, we were regular crew here for a good 2.5, 3 years before we had anything to do with the actual organising of anything. Yeah. But we actually started a catering company first, that we were going to be catering things here alongside Josh Smith, who is still the owner of EYELarp. But he had 5 kids and 2 vasectomies and had to take a step back.
That'll do it.
Yeah. So then that's what we basically got. It was Buccaneers of the Damned that we started writing for
with a little team of us. Basically, he just started getting writing teams together for all the different games so that he could take a little bit of a step back and it wasn't all on his shoulders. There was, I think, 5 or 6 of us at one point running butts, which was always the most madcap of the games here.
It was chaos.
Absolute chaos. And then, when we took over the kitchen on site, and then Legio was actually, which is what we've just been doing this weekend, was our first game that we got given with about 2 weeks' notice. Yeah. And then we had the blizzard, and so everybody who arrived on the Friday couldn't leave until Sunday when it thawed out and we can actually get down the path again.
Yeah. The valley was 3 foot worth of snow in it.
Yeah, it was unreal.
Was loads of Romans in sandals.
I love LARPing, don't get me wrong, but
it was unreal.
It was the wonderful thing about Eversley and why we enjoy it so much is because it changes throughout the year depending on what happens. And any weather, this place looks amazing.
Yeah. But the snow was
with
the offset against the red of the Roman tunics and all the leather and the shiny helmets. Oh, it's just the most photogenic.
Even saying that now, I feel like actually thinking about it, just like I'm mentally running through my kit, and I'm like, I could maybe do a snow event. Do you know what I mean? Like I probably have quite a lot of wool now. I could probably pull something off.
There was a group of Scousers they were here this weekend as well. They're fantastic, and they drove their car off the road on their way in, just off the road. And so we had to have a group of we didn't time on the Friday night because nobody was here on time, and so we were sending out search parties basically to check the road and make sure people were okay and able to get from the main road, which was just icy, awful, down the track and actually into sight. And we found them in a ditch basically with their like Ford Corsa just like down in the ditch. So we had to have like actual like Roman teams pulling them out. And then the entire weekend they were wearing sandals.
Yeah.
Like they just went for it. Like socks and sandals, didn't care. It was unbelievable.
Liverpool is a savage place, so you kind of understand like, you know.
Ready for a fight anyway.
Footwear's like sparse.
Oh, they're fantastic.
That's dope. Yeah, like I think one of the things that people don't really... When you're first coming into LARP, you don't really picture the weather as being a thing. Like, you're all about the aesthetics of your kit rather than... And speak to anyone that's been LARPing for a few years, they're like, this is my super warm kit. I can take this off to keep myself cool. Like, it's much more
Layers.
practical. So when you took over EYELarp, what was the kind of the... Do you think there was a change in you guys kind of running your games compared to other things? Like, what was the kind of like mentality that you think you kind of brought to the systems that you were running?
I think it's still a big difference, isn't there? Like, there's some games that were our ideas, and those are the ones that I think you can tell the passion that went into them at the start, and others that we took over at first, maybe did an event of to test the waters and check how things... Because all of them we crewed before that, because we were just here constantly, weren't we?
Yeah.
We lived in like a couple of towns over and just... This is what we did on weekends. I was working in Phil and Johnny was doing various jobs. At the time. Yeah, and so there were a lot of things that we could just jump onto knowing exactly what had happened, because we played most of the NPCs and, you know, all our mates had. But for pretty much all of them, we did a bit of a soft reboot or even a hard reboot. And made design documents and more information.
I think
available.
Also, being LARPers in the time period that we've had as well in LARP, we've seen the changes. So we kind of were a bit more connected with what was going on in other games as well, as well as the safety aspect, the design document aspects. So we kind of brought in the newer terms of the newer LARPers, and it's happening again. There's like another fold of people coming into the hobby.
And we alienated a fair few of the old hands who weren't keen on what we were bringing to it. But
I came into the hobby 2018, something like that, 19, something like that. Even in my time, I felt like I came in with a shift of things. Like I felt like I was part of that, and like a new wave of people coming in. I think because of COVID, we're having this second vibe of just loads of people who like I always say this, right? Like, it's the opposite of COVID, right? LARP, right? Like it's interactive. You're actually doing the thing, right? You're heavily involved in it. You can role play. A lot of people have been playing role play games like Dungeons and Dragons online for that duration. It just seems to be the perfect hobby post COVID, like in my opinion, you know.
Yeah, we realised this quite rapidly when we reopened after COVID. We're very lucky because the site is quite spacious. Because on games of lower numbers, when we were allowed to get back in it, we just hit the floor running, because we try and get an event down here at least 2 every month, but like we're in our safety brief, there's always something going on in Eversley on the weekend.
If it's not us, it's Airsoft.
If it's not us, it's Airsoft.
Or it's third party hire with some of the other LARPs like Northern Kingdoms.
So there's always something going on, and the best thing about it was that we then started realising the amount of new people that were coming in from COVID, because normally the FES systems were the first systems that
the
people
catch-all, right?
Catch-all. And then people would have like a little bit of LARP knowledge. Then they'd be like, I want to try a smaller game.
And apply that
to the smaller game.
Specific rules or specific setting.
But now we find that we are becoming
First port of call.
Yeah. And it's really strange when you get like the amount of new people that come up. Like probably most of our games, 4 to 10 are new players and crew with 60 players. Like,
we're really pro crewing as a starting point because it's how we started. Well, it's how I started, and it's sort of how you started here at EYELarp after your first time playing. And like, it's just such a great atmosphere.
The problem is, it's. And I agree with you, by the way. Like everything that you're saying is resonating completely with me. Like I find my experience with the small lot I've been able to RP a hell of a lot heavier. Really get into the character. To have a lot more plot being directly involved in, having a small amount of players which you can get to know really, really well. Like after a weekend, 50 people seems like a lot, but I know superficially something about everyone there, and I've also built up lots of friendships and stuff like that. But even crewing, I think, is a really interesting way. I think it's like your new LARPer might not think that crewing is the right option for them because it's intimidating, whereas actually the kit requirements are less. You're briefed very heavily on the stuff that you need to know. There's also some free reign in certain systems to be able to kind of express yourself as well.
And you don't necessarily have to spend a long time playing a character that could be quite daunting in the setting. So, it could be quite heavy role play that you're hoping to do. It could be that you're a combat wombat and you don't necessarily want to get into the deep role play, but you want to be part of the atmosphere and the setting.
See what it's like.
And you want to, you maybe want to just find out what kind of thing suits you.
Like I love RP systems like Into the Odd and things like that, where your characters die all the time and you have to come up with a new character in 5 minutes. I love that shit. So I feel like crewing is calling me, but I'm so greedy. I just want to LARP the entire time, and if I can go, then I want to be LARPing rather than crewing. But I feel like that might change one day. But so what's your kind of ratios between crew and players usually?
So most of our games now sit around the 50 players, 30 crew mark.
Yeah, that's about the average.
That is the average on our game sets.
And it feels like that's a deliberate decision to keep those numbers, right? I feel like most of the things that I've been to that are EYELarp related or Northern Kingdoms, they're like the tickets sell out very quickly, right? Yes. Like there's not a shortage of people trying to fill those 50 people. Why do you think that you prefer running 50 player as opposed to say 100 or more?
So with the 50, it's about looking after the story and making sure everybody is following it. I think with 50 players, it's easy to see the player impact of the story as well as the crew impact on the story as well. Because when you are at EYELarp, it's not the players and crew, it's the community, and each are trying to make the story work for each other.
Yeah, it lets people stand out as well, specialise in certain areas of it, and be the person that everybody knows does that one thing. And we have a hard limit of 100 on site here, just because of the agreement that we have with the landlords and the Forestry Commission who surround the site. Any more than that, and we'd have issues with logistics. But we prefer to keep it 30 minimum to 65 maximum, because and those numbers will also depend on crew, because Flying Lead is really easy to do as a 65 player game because so much of the combat isn't melee, and so our crew aren't constantly being absolutely paggered into the ground. Whereas something that's a lot more physical, we prefer to keep the numbers low just so that we can kind of even out the odds with the crew and have
the crew. Every crew I've had at this location has just been like unbelievably good. Like their NPC work, they're kind of like. One of the things I found really exciting about Flying Lead was first getting into Goodwill.
Goodwill.
Goodwill. And then the kind of like not knowing who are players and who are NPCs and interacting with everyone equally almost was like a real... I loved it. It really felt like I'm new to a new town, and these are all the different characters that inhabit this wonderfully wacky Wild West town.
They've made it their own, haven't they?
They really have. It's a thing that comes from Josh originally, and it's still quite heavily focused in the way that we like EYELarp is it's a film sim, so everyone is part of a film.
I think it comes from a German LARP phrase that he translated. Harry Harold also ran a similarly put together game called All for One, which was a Musketeers LARP, and he had also translated the same German rule system but different wording, and so his was I think like cinema cinema sim, whereas we're film sim.
Film
but
sim.
It's the ethos is react to everything and don't expect the reaction that you think you may get. So that everybody's kind of yes-anding to the situation.
LARP in general for me is when I describe it to like vanilla people out there that have no idea what LARP is, I tend to describe it as like it's improv with rules, and then people are like it's got a setting and rules, and that those few words in a sentence seem to be like enough for people to be like, I fucking get it. But what I love about this idea of this kind of like because one thing I've realised is I really don't like games that are too heavy rules based, right? I don't want to constantly be thinking about every single rule like it's a strategy board game with dice, right? Like I don't want to have it. If someone points a gun at me and shoots me, I just want to react to that, right? And have the freedom just to kind of clear all that stuff out of my mind and just role play the situation. And that's kind of what I found, especially when I was at Flying Lead, you know? Yeah,
it's something that we want to keep hold of. We have in our design documents added more kind of direction with archetypes, and a lot of them are like clans in Bind Rune.
It's skills though, isn't it? It's like being able to create a character that you know will be able to do certain things from the get-go, but that's all role play rather than building a character that can shout certain things at certain times and will have, be stronger or weaker or whatever.
Calls are really difficult. They're really difficult. I'm still kind of like on the fence about how I feel about calls. Sometimes calls are fantastic and they work really well, but I think every LARPer understands or has experience calls not being taken for whatever reason. Usually, I'm almost certain, usually because of not being able to hear or anything like that in the melee and the excitement of everything. But it can lead to players leaving the field, being really frustrated and kind of grumpy about everything.
Absolutely. So you hear about it all the time.
Yeah, it's so common.
It's something that we'll probably never put into combat because it's just very difficult to do that sort of thing. All the spells at things like Five Kingdoms are very descriptive, and it'll be based entirely on role play and what you can convince the players.
But there's also a benefit of the amount of players you have. You're never going to have those. It gets chaotic and it gets really busy, but it's a lot less so many people in one clanky one area doing all things at the same time, which makes things get lost. I feel that with the 50 player, you're usually in groups of 4 to 5 that are your homies, and then you're doing stuff in a larger environment, but there's only 50 players at the end of the day. There's only so much noise you can make, unless you're firing fucking blank fires.
Love a 9mm blank fire.
Love a 9mm blank fire. Love 2 blank mil firers. Oh my god.
I wouldn't know.
No. You had the worst luck with guns.
I've got a curse. Every single. So how many games of Flying Lead have we run there? 6. Plus 2 nightmares or something like that.
Something like that.
And I have never successfully managed to shoot a gun.
What do you mean?
Every single time somebody will load it, hand it to me, I will try and shoot it, it will misfire. They'll take it back, they will shoot.
Okay, I'm so happy you've told me this, so I never hand you it. Because I'm literally looking at, I was like, oh man, they're really expensive, but I was like, man, I really want my own fucking gun, right? I want to be able to have a handle I can fucking paint on and kind of personalise it and do all that stuff, right?
I don't break them. They just do not work.
No, they're too expensive to even take that risk. Until we fully establish what the curse is, I'm just not going to take that risk.
I'll hand them back and they'll go, oh, it's worked for me fine. And then bang, absolutely, immediately, it'll work fine. It's just, something about me.
So I
can do flintlocks.
You can do flintlocks.
Yeah.
I can do flintlocks.
I'm a pirate, what can you say?
No, I love it.
Anything past anything that hits the 18th century mark.
Machine gun? No, I'll take a musket.
Musket back.
Anything after the Napoleonic War, can't do it. Cannons, probably.
Yeah, cannons.
I mean, this is all something that you should experiment with, the size of the caliber.
Definitely.
Barrel length. I don't know, there's lots to... Yeah, man, I really shouldn't shop for blank firers, but it's so tempting just to browse the website and just watch all the different options you could possibly get. And then it always ends up with me going, it's 300 quid. That's actually what you want. That's the thing you actually want. Everything else is bad. But I feel like the kind of in this kind of transition that we're having, and it feels like a transition, and it's so hard to tell because it's just this is my opinion, right? But it feels like LARP is accelerating into something else at the moment and going through evolutions of change, which are kind of really healthy. Some of these are political, some of these are safety driven. but a lot of them are kind of like mechanically of how games are run and understood, and it feels like. And we talk about the old guard like with such a fucking lack of respect, right? But it does feel like there's an evolution of mentality towards games. I don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of them are coming along for the ride, you know? A lot of people are really excited about the changes and the new people who are in this hobby. And it's been really great to have such a varied like age range at Flying Nerd. Like our youngest ever crew member was 10 months old and our oldest is 75-ish.
Yeah. The guys next to me have been LARPing since the 80s. Like they were just old school, old gangsters doing it, and they were just such a delight to have next door and to talk to them about their old stories. And even they were like, it's fucking great. It's really great how the systems work. A lot more women as well, obviously, and a lot more representation generally. You know?
I mean, it's been strange. I went to LARPCon earlier this year with Max and Ren, two of our regular crew, who are going to be in our new Empire group.
Yes, they're going to be in my new
Very
Empire
much
group.
looking forward to spending more time with them. But like they are both people of colour, and they took over from Johnny on the stall because Johnny always hates going to LARPCon. he would much rather just be shut in the woods for a weekend, being able to just take a hammer and nails to something on site.
Just build something.
Yeah.
Build something out of one build.
That's what we should do. Just build the stand over the weekend.
So
I think I did that weekend, or I at least put some roofs up. I think with Steve Land. Always evolving this site.
But they found that. Well, we noticed on the Sunday that the two of them were two of only maybe 5 people of colour that actually attended LARPCon at any point in the weekend. It's still an overwhelmingly white hobby.
We had a thing with a friend of mine. I won't say his name because I don't want to my black friend or whatever. It sounds awful, but they were literally like, it's pretty white here. And I because I'm a white guy, I looked around and was just like, oh fuck, like literally it is like
it really is
hugely swayed in that. I mean, like, there's probably like socioeconomic things for that, but hey, things are getting better. Things are getting better at the end of the day. 100%. So
I think it's a nerd problem generally in these kind of hobbies.
Yeah, I think there are nerd problems. There are real nerd problems. Like I always bang on about this, how nerds can't have anything nice.
No.
If you give them power, there's something weird about certain people who are nerds who just become drunk on it for some reason and become really, really toxic people. And these are very reasonable people outside of a LARP environment, but can be, really, really bad. Like, it's weird. I don't know what mechanism that is, but and I don't even know whether people are aware of doing it. But me as a player, I'm deeply fucking aware of it, right? Like, even I still consider myself to be a very new player. I'm still very much like, we need to facilitate new players. We need to give them game, right? Like, if you've been holding on to, say, for example, a title for 3 years or more, like, what are you really doing? What are you actually doing with that?
Yeah, or 9 years now.
Right. Or are you just like, right? And but it's a real common thing. I'm just like, I recently actually got elected to a title at Empire, which I was like really fucking happy about. I've been like working really hard to do it, but I know that there's a limit to what I want to do, right? Like, there's stuff it's not the title I want, it's what I want to do with that title. There's a difference, right? And I think like I say this now, right? Like, audience, please hold me to this. If I'm still doing it 4 years on, feel free. Like, I'm a hypocrite, and exactly. Play this bit back to me and be like, God, if you live long enough, what if you die a hero or live long enough to become the villain? That would be me.
iCrew, if you're listening to this in 2025, track him down. What's your character's name, Empire?
I don't want to talk about it.
They'll get you. Go on.
They'll be like, I'll be on the battlefield and they'll be like, why is like a huge amount of people all aiming straight at me? The rest of my striding are like, listen, Dave, we've got to get out of here. Like, we've been warned. They said that we're okay, but you're fucked, mate. So, I think the other thing is, like, sometimes having titles can make you scared of going on battlefields and like taking part in other parts of the game, and that's something that I'm acutely aware of now, and trying to have that internal battle with myself to put my big boy shorts on and get out there and do the fighting and all that stuff. But yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, you just got to be a liver, not a dyer.
Yeah, liver, not a dyer.
As Sam Newton would say.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a dyer. I get that thing when you're in battles and you just like, you're like, fuck, I'll just roll the dice on this. Like, I know what the options are here, but I want to... Fuck, let me put this right. I don't want to be timid in my day-to-day normal life. There's no fucking way I'm going to be timid when I'm playing, like, a LARP game at the weekend. That just seems so counterproductive to me. And, like... fuck, I still love that rush. Absolutely love the rush of bad decision making and pulling it off. But again, you can play this back to me when I die in like next event. But
I think we had a really good last E1 as well, because we were all planning on retiring our characters after that event, and so there was a big group of us who were all basically trying to find the best exit for our characters and trying to find.
I've heard it's hard. I've heard it's quite difficult to get yourself killed.
Yeah. Like Johnny played the same characters as year one E1. Who was just notorious for being able to survive anything, and so he just went into the game going, nothing's going to be able to kill me. Like, there's no point in me even trying to die in battle, because at this point people won't believe it. Like, he killed a kraken. I heard he killed what was the other one?
Chimera. Well, I didn't kill it. I won.
Just ridiculous.
That was a great fight.
But we were actively trying to find like successors for things and like people to pass plot along to, and like. Just
a level 5 military unit.
Because there's like just stuff that you can get from the start of the game that you can't get now in 2022, because everything was so cheap in the first couple of years of the event.
So I hear about this shit all the fucking time. Like that kind of like starting the race with the gun going off, and then you join the race like 7-8 years in. You're like, oh my god, I'm a little far behind some other people that are at the event right now. But, no, I think, but that's the way I mean, what you're saying there is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, you can hold on to positions or power or money, and it's all make believe anyway, right?
Oh, it's all made up, mate.
But like, but what you can do is you can like help other people achieve things and feel like get into the game and start to hold on those positions as well, just by sharing a little bit of the wealth and love. You know,
there's so much really cool information in games like Empire that very few people necessarily know about, and it's not really because they're trying to hold on to it, but it's just because if you don't know who the other people are who are interested in the things that you want to do, then you can't share it necessarily. Like I found so like my last character that I just retired was a sort of Indiana Jones type. I was basically basing it on what's his name? Nicolas Cage in National Treasure. So it was just,
and just basing a character on Nicolas Cage of any variety is a bold choice.
It was great.
Bold choice.
I had a t-shirt and everything. But basically, she was a treasure hunter and was like really obnoxious with it, but like also spent like half of an entire event in a library searching for one particular reference to one particular thing in one of the old editions of the Oathright, because that was the only place I heard that this plot had been dropped in, and so it was just like an absolute struggle to try and find how to grab the end of this very long.
It just sounds like a fucking dyslexic nightmare.
Oh, no.
Like, if you went to me like, here is the library, go find this one piece of information, I'll just be like, go fuck yourself.
Well, I have a theory that the player who had it
can I pay other people for this?
But like there were so many cool things that we got to do, and so much of it was like, we're going to put together a team. We need some specialists. You there? What can you do? Okay, come along. You need you. And several times it was like we had 12 spaces to fill to go and get this ancient artifact of the Brass Coast, and we had to go to this spooky Varushkan glade to get it and stuff, and we had to put together a team, and changelings and cambions were better than anybody else for it because there was a particular mist or something, and so we were like, okay, we need to get some cambions, we need to get a cambion who can do autumn magic, we need to get a cambion who can do this and do that, and like, you know, it really felt like a kind of heist movie where you're going to break into Varushkan Vale and steal an artifact from...
I don't know anyone like that. If I went like, I need to set up a team in my group, it'll be like... There'll be no action at all. It'll just be like...
That was great.
That's why you go to other nations and get other people involved. And I think that's what it is about the smaller games, is that you can get more people involved in
accidental networking, isn't it?
It's also like player events, right? Like I do the bonds I've built off a couple of player events, which is why like I'm so bummed. They recently ran the longest walk
longest path,
which I had tickets for. Unfortunately, I had another fucking medical issue.
Yeah. Oh you've had not had a lot of luck.
For those playing Dave Medical Roulette this time, the correct answer is lungs. Lungs was the correct answer this time. For anyone that was guessing knees again, you were incorrect, or back. No. Lungs this time. Fuck, I was so pissed off. I was so pissed off I couldn't go. And I was like, part of me was like, oh, maybe I can go. And it's just like, no, a massive fucking walk.
25k.
It was 16.5k on the Saturday. In that glorious heat.
Fuck, it would have been so good. And the people that I know went absolutely loved it. Luckily, actually, a friend of mine, he does a podcast, Ban Shatter Song. I sometimes link his stuff on our Facebook wall, so have a look down there. But he did a really good thing of it. And listening to it, I was like, part of me was like, oh, this is really great to listen to. And the other part of me was like, I could have been there doing all of those things.
No, we're very lucky with what we've got.
And PD have been so good over the years because they're always happy to. Well, so far we've ran something like 6 or 7 actual player events and some socials, and they're so receptive to ideas. And I think they really like it when people are able to fizz rep below the abstraction layer what people do as their day-to-day business. You know, because we love the Navarre brief, but wouldn't play Navarre. I originally played a Navarre character in the first year of the game.
That sounds very prejudiced of you. So,
it's just it's not our game, I think, anymore.
No, I totally respect that, by the way. Yeah.
But we love the sort of mythos of the Navarre and the Tyrrhenial ancestry, and I'm Welsh, so I love all that crap. But I do always annoy all of the Welsh speakers at Anvil because I speak a bit of Welsh, but the language of Tyrrhenial is Iaith. I'm constantly pronouncing that as llaeth, which means milk in Welsh because I'm bad at Welsh, and so I
wish I could do. I could like when I'm DMing at the moment. One of my best strengths of DMing is doing like random NPCs. Like I'm good at it, right? But fuck, I cannot do that Welsh accent at all. My mum's Welsh, and every time I do it, I end up sounding like a really racist Indian, and it's really bad. And I wish I could crack that nut. That's one of the holy grails of my because I would love to play my next character to come back as a Navari, but like just go completely warrior-like again, a complete fucking zealot, and just have a really good time, right? Like roll the dice on the battlefield, all that stuff again. But
you can't possibly do that without a really good Welsh accent.
That's what I mean, right? You can see where I'm going with this, right? And also at Empire, I really love the idea of bringing an accent next time because I saw how unbelievably powerful it was at Northern Kingdoms and at Flying Lead. How for not only me as a player, how other players interact with me, the whole caboodle works better when you put that extra layer of between you and the character.
Absolutely.
It makes it so much better. Like when I was like the Dubois brothers running around, like
doing the Toussaint accent was amazing.
I was so in it, in it. I was just talking. I was thinking in the same language.
It's when you get back after a LARP or like a Sunday driving back, and you go into a service station and you still got the accent on. Yeah. And then someone looks at you just like, what?
Especially the Flying Lead one, because it's such a stupid caricature for most of us. Like, our friend Elsie can't come to Lead because she cannot handle, she's American, or she's lived in America for a lot of her life, and she absolutely cannot handle everyone going, ah, diggity! Woohoo!
My ex is American, and she would... I can only imagine the reaction to the accent. Even I was cringing a little bit, right?
Yeah. But thigh slapping as well, you know.
But hey, if you want to, like, I'm sure our American listeners will agree. Like, if you listen to any like role play podcast, I'm sure this is the same for American LARPs that I haven't attended. But there must be some really wacky English accents,
like really Daddy home, chopped away.
Truly, no, that was too good, way too good. Yeah, no.
Tally ho!
Really bad.
Oh god.
No, it was. I think the other thing about having like a movie setting as well, like if we were talking about like the Wild West, it's such a deeply like it's an era made up of mythos, right? And a lot of the stuff that we understand it through cinema and everything else is the myth rather than the reality.
The like the 50s to the 70s myth of what their past was.
Yes,
because when you go, it's a Wild West game. You're like, oh, cool, jeans, cowboy hat. You don't think Victorian London.
Yes, absolutely.
Same time.
Yeah, and that was what there was a guy there who actually came as a noble with a butler.
Yeah, it's
so fucking amazing. Yeah, like really good.
He's our centurion at Legio, which is
oh my god, I bet he's
so good.
Yes.
And he's brutal. Like, you know, the amount of like torturings, and there was nearly a crucifixion.
Yeah,
they're always constantly trying to crucify people, but like he's
Romans v Romans.
He's their mate because he's like the centurion rather than like an officer. He plays it like sharp almost.
I'm the mate of the men, but like a brutal overseer towards everyone else, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much how I think of most sergeants generally being in that role, right?
And he's got this Optio under him who's a proper little geezer. You know, I'll sort you out with that, mate. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's great. It's just such a movie setting.
Actually, I am looking now. I've decided I need to just do many more LARPs. many more LARPs is kind of what I want to do. So maybe I need to get hold of some Roman Legionnaire gear. But fuck, my spare room is just ridiculous at this stage.
You're getting full. Yeah, I can understand that. We've got a 40-foot container full of kit.
I know. I feel like it's almost like people need a storage, like a LARP storage solutions in the centre of England, being like, bring all your LARP kit down here, we'll put it safely for you. No, we're not a storage place, we just deal in LARP storage.
LARP storage.
We got foam dragons back there, we got hundreds of pieces of armour, you know.
It's essentially what we've got in kit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because how does that work, logistically, having to supply kit for crew and all the rest of the stuff?
So we're very lucky because EYELarp has been running for quite a few number of years now. There's been a build up of kit. So we have we have a 20-foot container.
We've got
20-foot container full of armour, swords, shields, weaponry for crew to use, also players to use if they require a certain weapon. Yeah,
we quite often have people who are totally new to it, and we lend them out a full setup for whatever it is. Yeah,
right.
Well, it was a trouble this weekend because we've got 4 Roman shields,
and
we had to keep going in and taking them off people so that we could send in the super high up officers, because they'd just taken them in and then let them against a tree and not use them all weekend and stuff. Yeah,
and then we got a container that is just all costume, and I mean costume from the Vikings, the Dark Ages, all the way up to the 1880s, and modern, because we've got World War One and World War Two as well.
Yeah, and all the sci-fi stuff. For Dropship Achilles and Gulag.
It's just for us. It's quite, because it's all on site for us. We can grab and go as what we please.
It's my happy place as well, because I worked in costume in cinema for a good 10 years on and off, and it makes me very happy to be able to just go into a shipping container that's full of anything I might need, be able to throw together a character for pretty much any era. And I've got a degree in fashion history, so I can be really specific if I want to.
I'm friends with someone who works in film and television, and also a massive
Ellie.
Ellie. You know her. Yeah, she's fantastic. But being around people like you is so good just for everyone else, because I email Ellie or email. How old am I? I message her regularly, being this very specific, really specific, random thing I've thought about or problem I've had with my kit, and she'll be like, "Bam! This is the answer. Get on with it." You know.
I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky because I will always look top form in kit, because I have.
Yeah. It's just easier to make stuff for somebody.
On dating apps, I basically anything costume for film and television, immediate swipe right, immediate. It doesn't matter. I don't need to read the rest of the profile. It's an immediate catch. Is there any advice that you would maybe give for say if someone's listening to this and they want to organise LARPs and get on with it? Is there any advice that you can have? I know that you were lucky enough to have kind of kit here and some. Yeah, but how would you from zero? How would you get yourself to that level?
I used to do quite well out of closing down theatres and stuff like that all over the world. We'll quite often put on eBay job lots of things, and it can be quite a difficult investment at first. Yeah, but the sheer, if you have good quality kit that's been made, even if it's 50 years old, some of the red coats that we've got, I sort of tracked down their what's the word? Origin.
Origin.
Yeah. Like it was like I was an archaeologist a fashion historian trying to track down specifically where it was, and searching up all these like old companies that became another company, and then 2 ballet companies merged and became another one. And so some of these are from like the 40s.
That's
but
crazy.
There's still an incredible nick because they were only ever used for 20 odd years. They were used for probably the Nutcracker every year, and then they were rented out on like the Patriot or something like that, and then and so some of them have got like burn marks on the back from where probably the stuntmen were being exploded off horses with cannon
I
fire
love that idea though. I love the idea that the clothes have narrative to them.
They have
It's really cool.
It's a hard one because if you need to choose your game first. Choose your game first and then go from there. Because if you go, I want this, I want that, I want this, you may not have the kit that you want. So find out what you want to do game-wise. So say if you want to have a little taster, if you're already part of a fest system, see if you can do a player event. Work out how many players you want to run the player event for, and then you go from there.
A lot of people have their own kit these days as well. Like you can often get crew to bring at least base layers, and then a couple of cloaks or odds and ends that might be useful. And we very regularly have crew who show up with like an interesting helmet that they have bought at a garage sale years ago that they've always wanted to use for something, and they've gone, right, well, we're in this fantasy setting and you need a big bad. Can I wear the helmet that I've always wanted to wear? And it's amazing what people have in their sheds.
It is. You just kind of got to get your crew as well. Like you need to get some people together, have a chat about the game that you want to run. Let them it's not just yourself. If you try and run a game by yourself, you're going to burn yourself out rapid quick. You need to have. I'm very lucky because I have Kitty as a partner. But then we are very lucky because we have the community of the Eversley community, be it player, be it crew. And then there's certain people in crew that I could always be like, because I have a couple of people that help me write random encounters for Smoke and Brass. So I could do the main story, and they can add bits to it.
I think this is like I'm guilty of this as much as anyone, but not realizing the skills that you have and that it's okay not to have skills in all aspects, and sometimes you genuinely need to outsource stuff or get other people involved who will love those aspects of it that you might find truly awful and hard to do. Other people might be really keen on doing that. Like I know a couple of organisers, they've done a couple of player events now. And Caitlin, I'll just say Caitlin, she's really good at organising shit, right? Like she's just that's her thing. And when you arrive at the event, she's got the packs out, everything is ready to go, and everything's just so perfectly streamlined and wonderful. And I would fucking hate that. I would hate it more than anything else if you gave me that as a task. But her interest and enthusiasm gets that shit done. So I
think when we did the triage player events with Tony Porteous and Elsie Longo ran, the spreadsheet for that event was far in much greater detail than any of the events that we've ever run. They wrote something like 400 new traumatic wounds for the Empire setting specifically for that event, some of which have become standard Imperial ones now. Just the sheer amount of work that some people are totally willing to put into it's a hyper-focusing, really, isn't it? If you're interested in an aspect of a game and you can develop it into something that other people are interested in, I think it's just chasing your passions more than anything else.
Absolutely. I think this is I come from I have mixed feelings about some aspects of the reliance on volunteers that LARP has. I think it's a question of scale and all of that stuff, right? Like I think small events, obviously, when you start getting to larger events, I think it probably, with the turnover of money, should probably have more paid crew. But on the flip side of that, the amount of people that are willing to put time and effort in and craft stuff, write stuff, the actual physical time by being on the field and helping other players have a great time is one of the best assets that LARP has. In fact, it's probably the best asset that LARP as a community has. Is the community. Effort of the community and the interests of that.
I think we've really benefited from just how keen and enthusiastic so many of our crew are. And like when we started crewing here, it was a very different set of people, and we were the young ones coming up through it, and like in our mid-20s, and a lot of the guys who were teaching us the ropes were in their 30s or like older even. Like we've had some crew who were, you know, grandparents who just threw themselves into it and stuff, but a lot of them have moved on because they've got married and had kids, and they're just in a different place in their lives. And we're kind of on about the third or fourth generation now, aren't we, of like waves of people coming through. And it's just amazing how quickly they can so it's not even ranks, it's just like we were joking at What the Longest Path that all the crew who showed up, because we had no idea who was going to show up, because it was on its fourth date
because of COVID.
We didn't care at that point. We didn't care if as long as there were like 3 players and maybe 5 crew,
we'll go for a nice walk in the
woods. You know, and the fact that it was so well attended, you know, considering, was fantastic. But all the crew who showed up were ones that we knew we just could rely on immediately. You know, they know the site. They are happy to have a radio. They're happy to tell us if things aren't working.
They know the vibe of our style of games.
I know people that just like crewing, by the way. This is 100% thing.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
When I'm talking about like, oh, my preference is, I just want to play all the time. Like, I know people that are entirely dedicated to crewing, and it's also a really great way to attend a shitload of LARPs on a budget, basically.
And a load of because
here we always feed our crew 3 meals Saturday and then breakfast on Sunday. They get, and
it's not just fed like. Well fed, I would say, from what I saw. Like they're probably leaving with more calories after the weekend.
100%, you know, we work them hard, but we got to feed them. You know, we're basically Italian grandparents already. And they get £5 crew credit for every event they fully crew for a weekend. And so this weekend at Legio, we sort of started running it because all of our main crew, who are like ref teams, and are like you know, people who lead people out on skirmishes because they're like, right, I know where in the woods specifically the rest of the crew are hiding. You know, the guys who are like the quest markers. You know, they were so super keen to play in this Legion, and we were like, we're going to have to bloody run it now. But at least they'll use up all their crew credit. Because they're the guys who've got like £30 each, which is like the cap, just to like spaff on tickets.
Yeah, you're definitely like making me think like maybe I should be crewing more.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, when what I found, because I did play quite a lot before I started crewing, I found now when I do go and play a LARP, I understand more of what happens behind the scenes. And then that allows me to be like, okay, I know, there's going to be a lull now, I can sort myself out, I'm not waiting around for stuff, or I can be like, right, this is a big red button, I'm going to push this big red button, because you kind of get the vibe, and you also know how to play different characters better as well.
It's one thing I'm scared of, though, is like seeing through the abstraction layer and seeing... Like I'm still in that beautiful like rose tinted thing where I don't know all the mechanics and how it works, and therefore sometimes that's
like if you put yourself into your role play mentality of when you are a player, that is there all the time because you are in your character's mind, you're doing what your character would do. You know, there's that kind of sensation of like, cool, I'm going to play this character and I'm going to play it to the hilt, because when I'm crewing, I get given a role that I get for about 15 minutes to say like 3 hours, and I've got to put all my effort into that 15 minutes.
See, that sounds fucking awesome. You know,
you put that effort into that whole 15 minutes, and then you wave goodbye, because then you go off and you go be splod number 4 that's going to get stabbed.
But Ginger James had an in-character nap yesterday in the middle of the game.
It's all I see. It's all I
see. It's varied, isn't it? It definitely is, and we accept all levels of ability and interests as well, because you know it's great to have non-coms in there as well.
I think for me it's also like maybe like if I was going to attend, say for example, the Roman event, I have fuck all that's Roman, right? Like I don't have anything that's Roman. Like Flying Lead was really convenient because of like I could buy pretty much all of their charity shops really fucking fast, right? Whereas some systems are really specific, and you don't want to buy like some cheap shit off like fucking Wish or eBay, and then stuff you actually do want is going to probably commissioned or something more expensive. So
I mean, you do. It's much cheaper for Legio because you don't have to buy trousers.
You don't have to buy trousers, yeah.
And if you do wear
trousers are for barbarians,
they will call you a barbarian immediately. Of course, you can take them off behind the shelf.
That's sort of doing. Get those trousers off immediately.
It's surprising how easy it is to put together kit for most of the games we run here. You know, no matter the time period. Like, because we've usually got the odd like iconic bit of kit that we can lend out, and just things like base tunics. I think there's a lot of people who buy the sort of standard Chow's like red or green tunic as their first like winter mock character, maybe as like an extra warm layer, and those are just so versatile no matter the time
they're
period,
so versatile.
And
it's
just
all
being
about
able to
accessories,
fold,
isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Accessories and folds is what helps the kit. Folds.
I meant, you know, you can, with a blanket from a charity shop. And
I'm talking about
pins,
like having a tunic, pulling it up. That makes it shorter. If it's a red one, that's a Roman one. Okay. Pull it down, layering, tuck it in. You've got a sleeveless one.
Yeah, I mean, some of them weren't the entire.
Well, that was mind blowing what you just said just then. By the way, I've never even thought about that shit.
You know what? It's all about and also it's all about your accessories and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you are new to LARP and you do want to come down to you want to play a game that we run or somewhere else runs, talk to the community. Trust me, there are so many people like myself that has so much kit. I can just be like, right, I've got my kit on. Do you need to borrow your kit? Yeah, there you go. Have a whole wardrobe. It's because my characters don't have just one set of clothing. Like, I aim to have 3 sets of clothing for a main character.
Well, it's like the guy next to me, Flying Ned, was just like, "Hey, do you want to for cheap? I'll rent you my pistol if you want." And he lived next door to me. I was like, "Sweet, that's perfect, right? I'm playing a gunslinger. It makes perfect sense." But like. People are really generous with their time. Also, before you go to the event, putting feelers out and stuff, talking to organisers is always a fucking good shout. And it's really good to get a vibe from the system you're attending by those little interactions you have with organisers. Because, I'm genuinely stunned at how much time and effort people put into dealing with questions and helping people out get to the game and enjoying it.
We really relied on the community for that for us because we're here every weekend from usually Thursday night until Sunday. There's so many hours in which we cannot use the computers to say anything, you know, and so we've got loads of people who just jump on and answer questions.
If someone puts a question on the Facebook, it normally gets answered correctly by a veteran player. The one thing that does happen though, and it's one of the things that message the company boxes or email the company boxes. Don't message the organisers directly, because if they're not your friends, they lose the messages. If you do message,
Facebook will filter it.
Facebook will filter it.
Yeah,
it happens so often.
Yeah,
you know. But
or comments on posts on Facebook that we don't get notifications for. You know,
stuff like that.
So we just can't answer things directly.
I've taken pictures at a couple of events, and when I've posted them, the volume of stuff that I received over the course of about 6 hours was so huge that my friends have been messaging me or leaving comments on stuff, and I just couldn't even get through the notifications to see people actually directly talking to me rather than everything else. So
the algorithm will get you.
Yeah,
bonkers.
That's it.
Let's talk about games that you're running at the moment.
Sure.
What are you running?
Let me just get the calendar up, because otherwise
let's go to the weekend.
Because you literally have that many going on at the moment.
Yeah. So next weekend we've got Second Breakfast, which is my...
Oh my god, fucking Second Breakfast sounds so amazing.
Odd.
It's odd.
It's just not a lot. It's like an anti-LARP almost.
Yeah, I've heard the PvP is complaining about I heard there was a sausage party and people were bitching about someone else's sausage rolls or some shit.
I don't think there's local butter in this pastry. This tastes like Upper Frogmore pastry.
Stealing people's benches.
Yeah, at one point with somebody still sitting on it.
So Second Breakfast is our halfling LARP.
Yeah, we can't legally say the other H word because the Tolkien estate are very litigious.
So that's basically...
So for all they know, that it could be set in the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay universe.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Just
basically small, hairy feet people that are really into food and kind of homely.
And we've named it Frogmore because the two villages are Upper Frogmore and Frogmore Green. And they both have alternate names for the other one. But because the next village along, if you want to go to the supermarket from Eversley, is called Frogmore. And we were like, this is the most hobbity name possible. I didn't even realise that there's Frogmorton in the Shire.
Yeah, in the Shire, yeah.
Like, this is the most hobbity name possible.
English village names are just so ludicrous, so stupid.
And so we had a whole group of like ND crew going, more frogs, like the entire time. I know, it's great.
I assume like kit for that would be fairly straightforward.
Yeah,
Can I ask when this is going out?
Yeah. When?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
So not this week.
Okay, it cannot be this week if you'd like it not to be this week.
We've spoken to Ollie Facey and Gorgon Photography, who did the photos of the first one, and they have a bit of an embargo on pictures until after the second one, which is this weekend.
And we also informed most of the players to keep still.
Yes.
So, listeners, it's not me delaying this episode or being lazy; it's them. Take that. No, I appreciate it. That helps.
So Kitty got a monster suit commissioned for this game. It is This is
so I spoke to Mandala in about 2019 when I broke my hand in 2019 and I was on a lot of painkillers and in a shed on site because I am the only driver in this relationship, and so we just stayed on site for about 6 weeks until my hand healed enough that we could leave. And so we ran 5 Kingdoms in that period when I was high on painkillers in a shed, and Johnny just cracked on with it with his other items.
Well, people are like, "Where's Kitty?" Like, tell us where she is. She's fine. She fell over and hurt her hand.
I had a mishap leading a load of witches through a wood during one of our Halloween games, and punched the ground while carrying a stool. It was bad, but so came up with the idea of Second Breakfast as a joke, posted it on Facebook as a joke. People were like, I will play this game.
Of course they would. What were you thinking?
I know.
It's what I do now. Every few months when I come up with something that sounds pretty funny to run, I throw it out there in the hope that if I don't run it, then somebody else will and I'll be able to go to it.
My initial reaction, by the way, was like, ridiculous. And then I was like, maybe.
And so very soon after that, we realised that the average height of a halfling is about 3'6".
Yeah.
The average height of a Canada goose is about 3'3".
Oh my gosh.
So I spoke to Mandala and they said...
Oh no!
And they said, actually, Wookie's decided to put all other work on hold because he wants to make a giant goose. Do you want the wings to flap? He thinks he's come up with a solution. And I was like, of course, I couldn't possibly stop your creative ambition here. Like, do what you will. This goose will be magnificent. And so the mayor, who's played by the fantastic Logs Dunn, the Goblin Workshop, who makes the murder pies that you may have seen around.
I love their stuff, by the way.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She plays our mayor. So her goose, Hildegard, is her pride and joy and lays the most fantastic eggs, which are ostrich eggs, which are the only things worth putting in a pie or a cake. And so Hildegard at a certain point in the game is unleashed, and then the goose is loose. And basically, Persephone Harrison, she plays one of the generals at Empire, Araceli, she essentially has a one-woman Untitled Goose Game lot where she gets to play it within the game.
So she just goes around in a giant goose costume.
She is a menace,
honking at people and stealing people's stuff.
And so the last one, they built her a nest to placate her and put her to sleep, and sang a song that was just like sleepy goose, sleepy goose, to try and get her to go to sleep and stop menacing them. And then like she got out the costume and she was standing there next to it and operating the head, which is on like a the grabby tools for grabbing things.
It's like a T-Rex, the old T-Rex heads you get.
Yeah. There's one of them built into the beak, so that she can stand to the next to it and stretch out the neck a long way and grab things with the beak. And,
like people.
Or knives.
Or knives.
And there was the youngest player, who was Robin, who I think is 2, was just standing there sort of stroking her beak and feeding her grapes for about 20 minutes while various crew members swapped in the goose roll to keep eating the grapes.
Okay, this is one thing I think's incredible about kids. do they think mascots and things are real? And like, when does that not happen?
Yeah.
Like,
but people were shrieking. They were terrified of Hildegard.
Well, no shit. I can imagine. I'm scared of it. I want to see it. Like, I want to try and appease it. But wow, that's awesome.
It was very funny.
That's one of those stories that if I was going to like tell someone that hadn't LARP before, a story from LARP, that wouldn't be like top of the list immediately. To try, but like, I want to get involved. Yeah, maybe second breakfast. Okay, keep going. Keep advertising.
So the second breakfast, then we have a weekend off, but it's not a weekend off because we're going to Empire.
Yeah.
Then we have run
at the start of July. We got
Bind Rune.
That's the Viking game that I started last year.
Yes,
yeah, it was
last
just
year.
Lockdown, wasn't it?
I need some Viking kit.
These are Viking.
Like Ragnarok sounds really good as well, by the way. So if there's more Viking shit, that'd be sweet.
We were in the same room as them at LARPCon, and it was really cool hearing like their pitch and everything that they were doing. Yeah.
So Bind Rune is based in an island called Manifell that's between Norway and the Shetlands.
I just want to apologise, everyone. Kitty's clearly got a drinking problem. So,
oh my god!
Sorry, Johnny, to interrupt.
No, that's all right. Pour it down yourself. I need
to find a tankard. All the tankards are full of Roman wine.
So Bind Rune is based in a fictional island in between Norway and the Shetlands called Manifell. There is a group of 5 clans. One is a clan that kind of left the other 4
700 years before.
700 years before. They're about working together, unifying, and they're about to do their summer raid into northern England.
Yeah, where they think
South
England
Scotland
may be, because it's right at the start of the Viking period.
So do you play as one clan?
You play as one of the 3 clans that are left. So you have the Refskeggings, which are the NPC clan.
They're the kings and the craftspeople.
The craftspeople that deal with like
travel between the clans, and so it means that if we have any traders who show up to the game, they are automatically part of the Refskegging clan. So that there's a bit of a separation between them as players or them as traders.
And then each of the other clan have a different. The other 3 clans all have different vibes.
There's the Ilvings, who are the seafaring clan. They live on the coastline of Manifell, which is the island. And they are hardier people, so they have we have a death system at Bind Rune that has, so everybody has an oath band, which is either a bracelet or a necklace with the shiny little beard beads with runes on that a lot of the Wintermarkers end up wearing in their beards.
Oh, okay, I know.
And every time they get into a situation where they decide their character probably may have died, they can decide to either take that death immediately, and we may well play out like a Valhalla sequence or something like that, or they can decide that the gods have smiled on them and have thrown them back into the land of the living and are able to carry on with their saga as they decide to. Some people, they decide to die on the first death. Others, they essentially have 3 lives that they can go with.
They get their idea is to get the best death.
Listen, I watched Norseman like last week.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh fuck, I'm hot on that Viking shit at the moment, man. Like,
so they start
4,
with an extra one to give them an opportunity to like really show their prowess. It's not just like warrior deaths, is it?
No,
so other things that
could
potentially kill them. So the Ilvings are the seafaring folk. We have the Augings, who are they're the mountain clan, who are all hunting and archers and basically
Trackers.
More nomadic than the others because they follow where the game is, and they travel and they trade as they go in the mountains. There's the Björnings, who are your kind of classic farmer Viking kind of archetype, who are all herbalists as default because they've grown up in the sort of lush farmlands where they can pick herbs, and so they all have essentially sort of chirurgeon kind of skills. They can do first aid as standard, so that we don't have one person who's playing a healer and trying to sort out everybody. You can specialise and decide that as a Björning you're the best healer, and you're not a warrior, you're just a healer. That's all cool. We've got some of the NPCs who sort of specialise in that. Yeah, so the Björnings are kind of herbalists by default. They grew up on lush farmlands where they can forage for healing herbs and that sort of thing. So people can specialise in being a healer from this clan if they want to. But they've also got a berserker tradition where there's particular mushrooms that grow in their farmland that they can kind of pickle, and it means that they can have a burst of sort of berserker energy in battle. And so each of the clans have like
they have a different
skill as well.
They have a different vibe. Like each of the clans have like kind of like
slightly different culture.
Slightly different culture.
We haven't colour coded our Vikings though. I should say.
No, but there is like a certain kind of like.
And how does this work in game? Are they adversarial to the other clans?
No, they're working together. Traditionally, they've had a rivalry with the fifth clan on the island, who are they call them the Goat Clan, the Brutinger, who their founders all landed there together, and they've got this sort of hero founding tale of these 5 warriors going there, and then one of them betraying them and going off and becoming a king by himself on the other side of the island, and bringing in Yom's Vikings from the mainland to like fight the others. And so the last arc of the game has been about binding the clans together,
as well as bringing the Brusingers back into the fold, so that they can basically leave the island happily to then go on their first raid
without worrying that the whole thing's going to go to shit while they're away. And then
which is Viking world problems, right? And
because they've got to worry about the mainland in
from Norway,
where there's all the petty. It's way before Harold Fairhair becomes the king of Norway and takes over that whole swathe of land. Like there's about 30 different kingdoms at the moment in Norway. In 799 when the game started, it's the year 800 now. But,
so that's like really early Viking, right?
Yeah. So these are the first
6 years after Lindisfarne.
Really early. Okay.
So they know of England, but they don't know very much about it.
Okay, so another one to add to the list then, right? Like what's next?
We've got a couple of. Next one would be Dropship Achilles, which is a airsoft sci-fi LARP where you all play mercenaries called Myrmidons that are on a dropship called Achilles. You get dropped into situations. You have to deal with all sorts. They've had to deal with terrorist triads, AI going wrong,
natural disasters.
I love this concept of like throwing people into the meat grinder, and that's kind of your
absolutely
lot. So good, love that.
But it's an airsoft based LARP, so it's airsoft guns. There's a lot of safety involved because of the fact that we are using airsoft rifles for it.
Previously, a lot of the EYELarp games had airsoft as a component because our boss Josh, he also runs Gunman Airsoft, which is an airsoft company. So there used to be a lot more crossover. Flying Lead was originally an airsoft game. As was Gulag. Both of them have since been rebooted so that they're blank firing, because we personally prefer it and we don't like wearing iPro for some of the games where it's not so atmospheric. But for Dropship, the whole thing is just being a merc on the ground.
Working for the company, which is basically the space CIA, and doing the job you've been tasked with. We put them on a training exercise because on one of the episodes they put a load of civilians into a building and threw an incendiary grenade into it, and stuff like this. So it's a really enjoyable game.
Supposedly it was supposed to be a healing grenade.
Yeah, healing grenade. But they chose the wrong colour.
You still got that incendiary grenade I gave you? What, the healing grenade? Oh shit!
There's a picture of me in the car park just doing this, like having my hand on my face,
having just been told by the players what had just happened.
Because then, of course, because it's all reactive, we had to react to that, so we had to work out what we were going to do.
Just go in and shoot one of them in the
kneecaps. So we actually waited for them to bring. So their whole mission objective was basically the planet was being mined. Explosion happened in the mine. It released heavy metals into the air and basically made the populace mad.
Super aggressive.
So you put them all in a giant cage, effectively, and killed them.
So
they were trying.
They were
trying
to heal
together and then
heal them. Because they worked out that their stim injectors for healing could surpass it. That's why they aren't going mad.
They could project nanoparticles to heal them all by putting them in the grenade casing and blah blah blah.
I feel like really judgy right now, but I'm also very much aware of roleplay games that I've played, and also being a DM and seeing how bad decisions come out of people is incredible.
So we had to
murder hobos.
So it was really, but this is the thing. It was like all our games, because they're competitive, not competitive. They are cooperative storytelling. Then we had to think about what we're going to do. So of course took the player to the one side, being like, right, I have this plan. What we're going to do is we're going to get you to escort the main scientist to the dropship. As you get to the dropship, Mr. Jones, who is like the company man, is going to shoot you in both your kneecaps and leave you on the planet. And he was like, cool, what are you going to shoot me with? We're like, a blank fire. He's like, I'm down.
I love that.
So that is what happened. We basically got him, had a big firefight all through the valley, up to the top, got him to the dropship, had a load of smoke, got to like big Atlas suits, which are like full OTV rigs with like robotic faces, come out, Mr. Jones comes, takes my pistol out my pocket, kills the scientist right away, so didn't actually have to lead him there, and then shot the guy twice in his kneecaps, left him on the floor, went, if you want to leave him here, good. If you get on this barge, you get paid. If you don't get on the barge, you lose all your pay. Half of the players went, see ya, and just walked onto the ship. 4 of his mates were like, nah, we're going to have to stay with him. It was really good. And then every event is has a slight continuation of the story, but they also go do another mission and get dropped. So the next one is a R&R. So they're going to a planet to just have a relaxed relation before they had to go off to another. It's
like a backwater, like old, holiday planet, right? That's really
is that
run down.
Same again, 50-ish players?
So that's about 30 to 40 players to 30 to 20 crew. So it's a bit smaller one, but it's
airsoft though. Like there used to be a lot of crossover with the LARP and airsoft communities, but we're finding it's less so now that we've built up a lot more.
So. Yeah. I think there's a weird we call it like a nerdy like Venn diagram where you have like cosplay and airsoft and roleplay games like coming into stuff. I think a lot of the stuff that I think some people have been drawn to airsoft for roleplay reasons without really realising that's what they're actually looking for. And I think there's something quite refreshing about when they actually just realise, actually it's just the roleplay I'm here for rather than the actual mill sim type stuff, right?
That's exactly it,
I mean, like
mill sim is a form of in my eyes a LARP, because you are pretending to be a soldier.
Don't tell them that though.
And then
100%. If you're wearing, I mean, like I find it a bit weird when people start wearing like actual badges for real units on them and things like that. I find that a little bit distasteful. But like, I'm not really involved in the airsoft community. My involvement has been good, but I have heard some bad stories, obviously, like of everything else.
I think it's exactly.
Like literally everything else, right? Like I've heard some, like being a dude, like there are whole aspects of LARP that are negatives that I'm literally oblivious to. They literally don't affect me in any way, shape or form. So I'm like, oh, there's no problem here, and then I'll hear like someone else say like, this is a massive fucking issue, and I'm like, oh shit, like, actually you've kind of highlighted this, and now I'm very much aware of it.
We've got some absolutely fantastic marshals at the monthly games here that are very much a part of the Eversley community, and who do a hell of a lot of the like building works and site clearance and just like the heavy duty like graft that makes this site work. And if it wasn't for them, we would have so much more on our shoulders that we really struggle.
It's that's why we say it's the Eversley community, not the LARP community here, because it is the site community, the airsoft side and the LARP side that make it so great.
I get very much. I very much have had a sense of similar people showed up to the same events that I've been to. It feels a very much community vibe. The people all know each other. They know what to expect from each other, and very welcoming, I should say. Like my dipping my toe in as just like and just trying to play as hard as I can with anything, like was immediately recognised and enjoyed by people. Right? Like it was something 100%. That was like I didn't know anyone. I just came in, but literally by myself and just tried to have fun, and then people are just so welcoming, you know.
This is one thing that I do love about our community is it is welcoming. You can be a veteran LARPer for 16 years, or you could be your first day in the field, and they will treat you exactly the same.
But it's more. I think it's also that attitude that you bring though. Like when you hear like, oh, your character was one of my favourite things that happened this weekend type thing, or in that thing is like, fuck, I couldn't be happier. Could not be happier that me dicking around made other people happy, you know, like that's awesome. Right, how many more?
Yeah.
Well,
so we'll talk about 2 new ones. I think probably is a good thing to do because we've got 2 new games that we're launching this year. One that's already sold out, hilariously, because we launched tickets about a month ago, which is the Oasis, which is a 1933 film set LARP, where you are part of a group who are on location on a fantastical island that shows up every 130 years or so, and it's a totally normal natural phenomenon within the setting. Like, it's been documented since like ancient Greek, this is going to be the first time in everybody in the setting's lifetime that it has emerged. It's sort of between Malta and Rhodes. Yeah. And so it appears out of the ocean, and it's there for a few weeks, and then it disappears again. And it always appears with a fantastic forest already atop it. And so it's the modern scientists who are desperate to go, but the rights to the first exposition there have been bought up by this maverick sort of Hollywood film exec who's filming his latest blockbuster on location on the island as like the most expensive and potentially the most foolhardy film ever made.
A little King Kong, I like that.
Yes,
Pretty much that's what the aspect is. And you all play, the tickets went out and people basically purchased a ticket for a certain role. So you had your film crew.
Oh, fuck, that sounds so
awesome. You had film crew, you had the cast, you had the security.
Who were going along to make sure that nothing goes wrong, to protect the studio's investment.
Yeah, and the consultants, which are kind of like your archaeologists that wanted to go there but didn't get the rights, so jumped onto the film so they could go have a look.
Yeah, they're definitely going to advise the director on the historical aspects of the setting, rather than to try and find as many
fill your pockets with oh, that sounds dope.
It's such a dumb idea that it's been on the Rock pages, but it's kind of along the same lines as our Flying Lead Nightmare kind of setting.
Like it's going to one-shot it.
Yeah, it's a one-shot, and don't expect to survive because the island is going to...
Oh, it's a one-shot.
Yeah, it's a one-shot,
that sucks.
But we might run it again.
Man. A 1930s costume just lit my imagination up with oh my god, that'd be so
it's the mummy,
cool.
Straight out the mummy. Like, the mummy. Go for anything with the mummy. That'd be perfect.
Giant flat cat.
Yeah. But it's a load of and we know that some crew members that got tickets are being like an Italian mafia. You know.
Italian American mafia.
Yeah, that's it. So probably like ex Al Capone kind of.
I think being a film star would be the best.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to engage in anything beyond your own personal universe. It must be amazing.
We've got some incredible character concepts that are on the drawing board. We got one of our film crew is the stunt double of one of the cast. And so she's got a giant ginger beard that she's going to be sticking on every time she's going to do a stunt for him. And he's like a Shakespearean actor who's taking himself very seriously, but he's been taking this.
Oh my god, playing a lovey darling that you just come out with endless stories about your time on Broadway or the West End. It would be so good.
My agent is insisting that I take this role because otherwise he'll drop me. So.
Have you heard of an actor called Charlie Chaplin?
It's going to be great.
So we've got so many games. It's ridiculous.
We'll just list them off. So we've got Flying Lead, Smoke and Brass, which obviously you've got a whole episode on.
Which you
so we don't need to go into
shouldn't
that.
buy tickets for. Just trying to avoid that.
Five Kingdoms.
Five Kingdoms, which is
I hear Five Kingdoms is dope. By the way.
Oh right, so it's a D&D based LARP basically. There's 5 kingdoms. You get to choose orcs, 2 types of humans, elves, dwarves. Each have their own flavors. Each have their own styles. It's pretty much it's D&D. It's D&D. It is D&D.
Trying not to say
I'm trying
to
say it, but it is D&D. It's a fantasy based. You all work inside Harker's Lodge. So you're all heroes of
on the frontier.
On the frontier of this it's like 10 years on from what happened in the story before we did the soft reboot, the design document. So there's this dark forest that the magic's been pushed out of, and now things are starting to awaken it. More people are going to the frontier. There's a witch hunt happening because it was all caused by a dark magician. Yeah, it's just fun. All the magic, the big spells are done with flash paper, so that you get the attention.
So your wand is a
lighter. And you're by the power of my ancestors. You're the
we got some fantastic pictures. Ollie Facey managed to snap a photo.
Oh yeah, Ollie,
it was noon, and with the exposure, it looks like it's nighttime because the brightness of the flash paper is just setting fire to it.
Oliver Facey's a fucking. I love his work so much. Like, it's an absolute privilege. I never get snaps of myself around him, but like his. Actually, that's not true. He has actually snapped me quite a few times.
Coming to Eversley, I feel is like a bit of a cheat code with Ollie as well. Because as soon as he knows who you are, he's like, oh.
I always feel bad for Oliver because it's like because he's like one of the photographers. Yeah. Like there is a certain amount of burden and weight that has because of that. So, yeah, like I'm very aware. Like this is how I talk to Oliver. Is just like, just chill with him. Yeah. I don't talk to him about photography. If I do, it tends to be something like I worked on or something like that. Like he doesn't want to hear me badgering about when is this event going to be out
or when are the photos.
Did you get
it? Oh my god!
Were you here for this moment? Is there pictures of this and all of that nonsense? Leave photographers alone. Right?
Like, leave such a level of effort that they have to put in to even decide which pictures make the cut, and it's
like Gorgon Photography. So we've got our home photographers here. Really, Emma H and a few.
We've got a lot of guest photographers
recently as well. Yeah. GPRD's a big thing they've got to deal with. But yeah, it's just I think every time I speak to Emma, it's like, someone messaged me when are the photos coming out. It's just in like half the time I'm like, wait 2 more days. Like literally, just make me wait longer.
Yeah. Every time somebody asks Emma how long the tickets, the photos will take, she adds an extra day. Schedules it
because it's just one of it's like
they do it out of love of the hobby, and it's for the vast majority of photographers in the UK, it's not their full-time profession. They do have day jobs and they do have limited hours in the day. But if you're just a normal person around them and talk to them like a regular human. Please talk to
the
like a normal person.
It does a lot to let them be able to just crack on with what they're trying to do, and
it's something about that. Like I kind of because I've brought my camera to 2 events, both of them player events. Actually won the LARP Awards this year, which is quite nice for photography. Nice. So pretty proud of that. But like. It's funny, like, people acting differently around you because you're holding the camera. Yeah. Like, if you bring your camera up for any reason, everyone's just completely... it's weird, right? I get it. I'm the same. I mean...
this is the thing that I find really great with the Gorgon photography lot and Oliver Facey, because there's times where the picture will come up and we're like, when did you take that one?
Yeah.
Like how are you in that moment? There was only 4 of us in the room.
I don't remember seeing that moment.
Actually, weirdly, the photographs that I've had of me, and you're right, it is a cheat code coming to a smaller event because you just get those photos of you. There were a couple of pictures of me from really personal moments. It was the moments I was most engaged with in RP. Like, I actually really in those moments. Like when
did you switch off?
A character was dying towards the end of the event. It was a really emotional thing for me and everything that happened with that. I didn't register there being a photographer anywhere around me, and I'm so glad there's a couple of snaps of certain moments that are like, I can take those memories to the bank, basically, right? They'll always be there, and even in 10 years' time, I'll look back on those pictures and still get that emotional pang from the moment, and it's like, that shit's so good. But then again, I say all this, and then, like, Last Empire, I was running back in character with my mate, and my mate goes, "Oh, hold up," and I looked over, and Oliver's there, and then we just feel like literally, middle of the fucking field, of the field, heading towards the gate, right? We're all knackered and stuff, and suddenly we're all shoulders back, chin up, trying to, and it's just like, you disgusting idiot, Dave, what are you doing?
So 5 Kingdoms, fantasy, basically D&D LARP. Can't be a paladin, can't be a orc barbarian, can't be a archer, elf, mage, wizard. Then we've got a
fantastic bard.
We got a fantastic.
He won Bard of the Year this year. Sam Kerr. He's fantastic.
He actually plays an elven bard in the game. He looks like when someone goes, "Picture an elven bard."
Yeah.
yeah.
At one point, he had a flower crown. That I think he made on the counter.
Flute, all this.
But the reason that we were also behind him getting Bard of the Year is because he writes songs in game, and so he'll write a song about something that has just happened and then perform it the following evening.
I there's something about, because I like telling stories that stuff, which is like its own thing, but the singers are like
the bards.
Like I said, like you end up realizing for television and radio and all the rest of the thing, the value in a singer or a storyteller is like anything that helps you forget about the dark, the cold, and or helps you learn stuff or entertain you, become incredibly valuable people, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna hate me. There was a really beautiful part. Walk the longest path. So 30 players.
Yeah, ish. I think it's 32.
So 30 players in a line, walking through the woods. Sam Kerr with his lute, and the entire line. I mean, the entire line singing Oaken Hashman Thorn. The entire line.
I don't want to hear about this shitty event. It sounded awful. Let's all go walk in the woods. That sounds fucking great fun. I can't wait to go to the next one. Trudging along. I mean, talk about lazy fucking game design. Just going to make them walk 12k's. They're too tired to do anything at the end.
Me and the crew had a great time sitting around waiting for them to just get in position. It was
driving past in a minibus.
Genuinely. I had a load of Grey Pilgrims and it was at the furthest point of the entire forest, because we were able to get in touch with the Forestry Commission. They let us walk on the main paths, not just in the 64 acres that we use, but in the something like 180 to 200 acres that are just around us on all sides, and so we couldn't figure out how we were going to get into position in time for you guys to meet this group of dads who were refusing to ask for directions on the trods. Grey Pilgrims who just didn't know where they were.
Had a map upside down, like we're there. No, you're there. Like,
and it took us a good 10 minutes of like trying to work out on Google Maps how to get into position before I went, I've got a van. I've got a 7-seater. I could just pack it full of the dads.
The players will be like, I feel like there might be an ambush on there. No, but one thing I did get as feedback for that was, which I really like, which is something I like about a lot of these, the kind of games that I've experienced at Eversley, is the kind of you get to have like an idea and then twist that idea even just like a few degrees and make it really fun, right? Like you can have interactions that are just like you're saying,
just standard interactions, like everyday interactions.
Yes, and just it builds that kind of. Not everything has to be a fucking bloody ambush. Like it's the same as if you're running a D&D campaign, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just by the numbers stuff of like, are you going to do this and then there'll be a fight at the end type thing. Yeah. To twist those things and to have an imagination on what's possible keeps the players guessing and like really immersed in the world. I love it as like a point of game design that seems to happen here.
It's always so make sure that you have something to react to what your players are doing. Don't railroad them. If you bring an NPC and they stab your NPC,
that was only the lieutenant of the NPC.
That was only lieutenant of the NPC.
That was
get someone to come in and be like, a messenger's come through. Where is he? And then then they've got like,
dude. By the way, I can't go to the next flying lead, and I so badly want to go because I just want to. If the second coming walk into the village, I'm killing them right there. I'm shooting them down, and it would be amazing. And it'd be such a good moment. There'll be a court case, and have to be tried, and it'll be amazing. And I'm not fucking going, and it irks me so badly. Oh man, I want to go so bad. Are there more events?
Oh, there is. There are.
So the Gulag, Land Without a King,
which is Arthurian Knights.
Set in the 6th century.
You either knights, men-at-arms, peasants.
Yeah.
It's Uther's died, the sword is in the stone. Sword got drawn out by a fake king of Scotland. Got annoyed, broke it. The shards went all across Albion. They need to get the shards, rebuild the sword, put it back in the stone, so then the king can draw it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
It's set in the 6th century, but it's taken a lot of inspiration from
every
version of Arthur that it sort of existed as stories.
Yeah.
So a lot of the players wear sort of 15th century armour because Le Morte d'Arthur was such a massive thing. The Mallory version of it is so steeped in that sort of 15th century armour thing. But we do like to joke that the whole thing's taking place at the court of Henry VII, who was a massive Arthur nerd. To the extent that he called Henry VIII's older brother was called Arthur.
Yeah. Isn't that like part of historical record though, that these things were the myth of Arthur came way later and was actually just based on a lot of the kind of stuff that was happening at the time. Like a lot of allegories, like for stories that people like in the present day, are actually much more reflective of the time that they are set in, rather than what they're trying to represent.
And like in some of the earliest Welsh versions of it, in the Mabinogion and the Red and White Book, there Arthur shows up as like a bit part, and he's and it's almost like the cameo on like Friends or something, where it's like a recognisable actor and everybody starts cheering because they're like, Arthur's here, and then Arthur walked in with his hunting party, and clearly he's already a character that they know about, and there must be so many stories that have been lost to the mists of time and that predate the sort of 8th to 11th century stories by a good couple of hundred years, and we'll never know what that was.
I think there's something really cool about an awful lot of the kind of... We get a very sanitised version of a lot of the stuff of that kind of stuff, but like, I like all of that stuff to do with like, and how brutal it is, and how even like I wrote a screenplay for a dumb horror movie years ago, and it was called like based on The Green Man, and it was all about like a modern don't steal this idea, it's gold. A council estate being built over certain bits of woodland, and then this green man starts to manifest itself within the town and starting affecting things in the town. It's a really cool idea. I was just researching that as part of like me trying to write for it, as you do, right? Like, this is gold. Like, this is so good. This mythos of people living in the forest and they look like a tree and then their eyes open and then they're there, and it's
mad,
cool,
isn't it?
I think we should probably say about our other new
our new game. So we in June 20th we're going to release the design document for Hoist the Colours, which is going to be our new pirate game. So we ended Buccaneers last
August,
which was the long time running pirate game we had here, which is based around like Peter Pan, Hook, that kind of vibe.
Bit of Treasure Island.
It was where me and Kitty met.
Sort of magic-based pirates.
Yeah.
This is going to be a lot more sort of...
This is going to be more Black Sails, traditional pirates, Black Flag. Basically, Nassau has just fallen. All like your big named pirates, Blackbeard, etc. Got the pirate navy to do one last stand against the Brits, the English. Lost. All of the like well-named ones died.
Yeah. Blackbeard was already dead. But
Anne Bonny, Caligo, Jack Rackham, all have perished in the war. So it's these pirates now limping away from that final armada. They have 5 ships that survived. The rest of them all were sunk. And they picked up the crews. Anybody in the water who's still alive got picked up by these 5 ships. Or any refugees from Nassau, they've picked up.
I've got a cracking pirate accent that just needs to come out. Like, I'm not going to use it now. I'm going to save that.
Yeah, but so and the premise is they're trying to get to an island marked that Blackbeard found just in case Nassau fell, where they can start making their own. A new Nassau.
So it's a bit further north.
Further north, so we can get away with the temperature of the English climate, because we can't base a game in the Caribbean when you're in a pine forest.
No,
especially when the game's in October.
When it's in October. So the premise is that you're there. You're trying to remake this kind of free nation, this pirate nation.
Yeah. We like to set all our games in like fictional pockets of history, because then we get to set the rules of what is socially the standard way of doing things, and it means that like for like Manifal at Bindrune and is it New Austin? Flying Lead. And this island that is yet to be named. There we can define what the social standards are, and that means that we can say from the get-go, in this setting, it doesn't matter what your gender is, or your sexuality, or where you're from, because all are equal in this society.
Yeah.
If you're in this game, no outside characteristics should be anything to do with your character. You are who you are, and you are accepted within this setting.
Yeah.
Because it's just rubbish otherwise.
It's a massive shame that we have to... I think it's great that these are rules. It sucks that we have to be in a world where these are rules, right? I mean, I've learned a lot in my time at LARPing, right? Like not that I've ever been like a menace or anything like that, and really had some really nasty prejudicial views. But I've started to like view. Sometimes I've interacted with people and I've been like, oh fuck, like maybe I should check myself on that. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that anyone's like gonna beat you up or chew your ear off for something that you're, with good intentions, but I think it's been a really good growing experience for me, learning an awful lot about that.
It's the LARP. It has a community, and you start meeting people that you may not interact with not on a day to day, which is really, really good.
I think there are some games that really thrive off the kind of like dealing with these difficult subjects in the way that is really like refreshing and cathartic for a lot of people. But we don't know enough about so many marginalised identities. Enough to be able to put it in there,
this way. If this stuff was easy, we wouldn't be talking about it, right? So it's like I think like coming in with good intentions, setting up good rules, like having everyone's equal. You play the game and you're all equal. Is very, very good. I was speaking to one friend of mine, Paige, and she was talking about her experience at Empire. The sense of like, and another female player actually listened to on a podcast, more her, but the sense of empowerment that you can have that I never have to ever think about being a dude in English society or British society is never really a thing for me. But the empowerment of a female warrior is something that they don't get to experience a huge amount in the real world, And also it makes people like learn about themselves in their preferences, sexuality, all of those things, right? Like I think LARP has a massively underappreciated aspect of making you view yourself through a lens of abstraction, which is amazing.
It's test the waters. Whatever things you want to try.
It's escapism, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you get to escape your mundane life, and you get to kind of dip how much you want to, even if it's a toe, if it's a whole arm, into.
You got toes on your arm.
Toes on my arms, why not?
Okay. Disgusting.
Into something.
Don't judge.
Like into something that you may have not done before. Like how many people have gone? Yeah, I'm a fighter in like real life. Let out like an angry yell or a roar.
Well, it's there's been a few situations where like if you've listened to podcasts for a long period, then but like I've had moments where I've doubted myself, where I haven't done the thing I wanted to do because I was nervous or something like that, and that made me just go like, oh fuck, well, like why am I even nervous about this, right? Like, and it gave me lots to think about, but then made me in those same situations just go right. Like I'm not gonna wait on me that much that I was like, fuck, I'm not gonna let that happen again, right? But I've had friends. We talked about this briefly when I first arrived before we started recording, but. People's sexuality, their relationship with their identity in general, and this doesn't have to be a dramatically giant change. It's more like opening doors in your mind or personality and identity that you're like, oh fuck, I had no idea this was here. Like I'm now more of a richer person for all these things I can now experience, like without the constraints of maybe some of the more your upbringing or social norms that you were kind of created in your own mind,
I think it can be stuff as easy as like singing, like for loads of us, like how often have you sung like communally with other people outside of like assembly in school when you were 8, like
I think performance is a really great part of this, and it's actually been a great stepping stone for me. Like I'm one of those people that tends to get quite nervous around certain things. Like I just like a lack of confidence. I tend to kind of have this like almost like I pick myself up by my collar and I throw myself into something. Right, that's kind of how I picture stuff in my mind. Right, from the external, you're like, wow, Dave doesn't give a fuck. He just does the thing, right? But internally, I'm like, oh my god, and then a hand reaches over and throws me in.
Okay.
But I had this with Songs and Stories, where I was just like. The first thing I did at Songs and Stories was a limerick.
Yeah.
Because I was like, 10 seconds, I'm out. Step in, hello, read the fucking limerick, say goodbye, and then I'm gone, right? That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But then, now I'm telling stories and a lot more comfortable with that. I have friends of mine who have never sung before, have sung publicly now, which is fucking amazing, and seeing them grow as people. It's fucking dope. Fuck, I love the hobby. I just absolutely love it.
It's really fun to be part of it as a game runner.
Yeah, professionally as
well. But it's my job. I get to most weekends I get to dress up and be someone else for a bit. And
God, let me tell you, if he doesn't get to fight somebody, he is bloody awful. At second breakfast, like the last at run 1, he kept coming. So he was supposed to be doing. We generally cater, because we cater for the crew. Sometimes we do meal tickets, and it just means that one of us is usually in charge of running the game, and one is in the kitchen, like between doing other things, but quite regularly. Like, in charge of the kitchen things. And it's partly because we can't have, I mean, it's too many cooks just in the kitchen, but also in running the game. We will get on each other's nerves and we'll end up and so we each have our own projects, and that's good because it means that we can support each other on our project. But what was my point? I was going somewhere with that.
Your point is I like to fight people.
Yeah. So at second breakfast, Johnny basically kept coming out the kitchen in a right mood, just awfully, just mardy. You know, coming over to the crew who are all standing around. He'd had a lovely time as some like nuisance little apple scrumpers who'd stolen some apples that the players were still trying to find to put in an apple pie. And Johnny would be like, right, can we get them fighting?
No, I didn't want them fighting.
Come on, Kitty.
I didn't want them fighting.
Why are they just sitting around? It was like they've just come back from doing loads of stuff.
Yeah.
We need to hire a basketball player to come in and like attack them with an orc mask or something.
We're lucky. We
get to double foot plant people in the chest.
Not the chest, the shields. Shields. I don't.
Apart from Isaac.
No,
you guys
shields.
have prepared that.
So
it's their custom move.
I think we are very lucky in the fact that we do run LARP games for a living. This is our job. This is our job to entertain and write a story with a fantastic community.
Yeah.
And also able to write a part of a story and then hand it over to a group of 30 to 60 players and see what they think of my crazy imagination.
And what directions they take it.
What directions they take it. I may put something in and go, yeah, they're definitely going to go that way, and then they just kill a load of civilians in a hut with an incendiary grenade. You know what I mean?
I kind of understand that from a DMing point of view, and I love that. It's one of my things that in fact I'm learning every day. Just because you've set up a narrative, roll with those punches. You can still get from A to B. B might be very different by the time you get there, but you can still have the same emotional hooks and notes. But like watching the chaos of roleplay is
chaos of
fucking glorious.
I love it.
Yeah, just the in jokes that start up in little groups as well at games, and like. It's great. Like we really enjoyed listening to the podcast of Flying Lad because at the time Johnny was injured, and so he wasn't in the game anywhere near as much as he usually is. Like he's very much a lead from the front kind of person, whereas I'm kind of a stage manager kind of role where I like to brief people, get them in there, and I rarely take centre stage. But Johnny is like kicking down the door and
we still, me and you still went and rescued the noble guy. You got one arm and we're just blasting away in the woods, just the two of us. So good.
But as a result, like usually I'm in the field for a fair amount of it and join in with some of the skirmishing. But because Johnny was injured, I wanted to make sure that all the backstage stuff went as smoothly as possible, so that we didn't have any major issues. And so we saw far less of the game than we usually do. And so seeing somebody else's perspective that we had no idea about for the most part, I certainly had no idea about. And we knew some of the movers and shakers involved, but had no idea of the narrative that had been created.
Doing a podcast it's really weird, and I'm very much aware of me coming in as not an expert, and it's all very much my opinion based and all this stuff, and like coming into a system and like me saying to you, oh, by the way, I do a podcast and I'm going to release an episode on this. Like I'm still kind of like, I don't even know how the best way to kind of like, you know what I mean? You don't want someone to come along and just basically shit on your entire event and take it down, right? But at the same time, like I have a very strong feeling, passion, mentality towards like transparency. If I don't enjoy something, then I'm gonna say. But at the same time, there's a certain amount of responsibility when it comes to that I'm terrified of. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very tough. And also, like I think, like as my LARP kind of career goes on, I'm learning different things. And I'm developing tastes. So one of the big worries is I go to an event and it's a perfectly good event. I just don't have a good time, right? Like, I probably wouldn't do an episode if I was feeling that way about it, but like, it's definitely something that I need to think about. You know?
Yeah. Well, there's different games out there as well. Like, say if you go to one LARP and you don't enjoy it, go try another one.
Yeah. It's like picking up a video game and being like, well, I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
And then going, well, I guess the entire
all video games.
All
video games. Absolutely.
You pick up a first-person shooter, you're like, this is rubbish. I'm not going to play any games. But then again, you've missed out strategy. You missed out role play. You've missed out puzzles.
Also, community as well, right? Like there are even within. Let's use like Empire as a really obvious example. It's so big that actually the culture is. There are many different groups and cultures within Empire. So you might go to
different
one nation.
cultures in different nations.
Yes. So you might go to one nation as a new player and just feel completely locked out of the game, right? Like you've got no. I'm trying, I'm asking people, I'm saying I'm new to Anvil, and no one's giving you the time of day. Well, you might go to another thing and just walk past a campsite and be like, hey, did you want to sit down?
Do you want a bit of stew?
Do you want a bit of stew? Like, have a beer? Like, what have you been doing? What nation are you with? All this stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, so
it's your first time to Anvil, you decide.
And for me, it's like I worry about people's first interactions with, and like this is true for anything, like yoga. Like if you get the wrong teacher, you'll be like, fuck, I'm never going back to yoga ever again. It's like if you have the right teacher, you might be.
Absolutely.
If any of you go into the yoga studio, you go like, oh, I'm brand new. Okay, we're going to make you do like experienced yoga. You hurt yourself.
Yeah, and you're going to feel like a fucking dickhead the entire time, right? Like, so whereas I think like, I don't know, like I said, this is, organisers can only do so much of this. I feel like the communities, and that's why I think this is why I was so keen on coming down here and talking to you guys, because I think like genuinely Eversley has a really special vibe. Like I feel like I talk about this sometimes with the idea of like, if you don't like golden ages of things, you don't know you're in a golden age while you're in that time period, but this is the only time period that I'm really looking at and being like, am I in a fucking LARP golden period right now?
Super zeitgeisty.
Like, am I? But it feels that way. Like everything, and I don't know whether this is because I'm involved with like the podcast and everything that's meant to me and how it's kind of, like, it's been so great as a ride for me to go on, but like, lots changing in the LARP sphere. Things are developing. The imagination's flowing. New players are coming into the game that were never in it.
We've got new people. We've got a lot of new people coming into the hobby, be it from because of COVID making them want to go out, or the history, all the people that have been watching YouTube's
D&D over lockdown.
D&D over lockdown. That you've also got the technology, and also people's opinion as well has changed heavily on like these types of hobbies.
Mate, I want to kiss Matt Mercer on the lips and say thank you so much for everything, because he it's like, I know there's like, he's like Lord of the Rings was a really good turning point, and a few other bits, but like the change of attitude towards D&D has opened up all of this other nerd space, which has been brilliant. Right?
And also more people are looking out there for different things now. Instead they're like, oh, I really enjoy this game. Oh, I really enjoy that game. Hang on a minute, what's this live action role play? Oh, I'm going to look into this. And then there's,
I think part of it as well, sorry to interrupt, is that people are currently really appreciating the human contact and like disconnecting from screens and spending some time in because at the end of the day, like some of the way I usually describe it to like the lady in the laundrette is like, you know, it's like a video game but in real life and with a real pub and with real fire and with real friends.
Dude,
you know?
I had a moment with one of the players after Flying Lead where basically the conversation was after that they had to go away and have a little bit of a cry. I was like really emotionally hit by it, and basically it was just two guys that knew nothing about each other 48 hours before, just saying to each other, thank you so much for the feels. We gave each other a really genuine hug, and it was just like, I can't get that off a controller sitting at home, right? No. Like it's a whole different vibe, and it's like if you're listening to this and you haven't been LARPing, obviously get the fuck down to your local LARP, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Find out who's near to you, give them a go crewing.
Yeah, I think like we have like a fairly international audience. I think that's another thing that's been really cool. Like, is understanding how what we do in England affects more than just here and the players that you're interacting with. There are like, we're all inspiring each other and like one giant community around the planet.
I think especially our style of LARP is very much inspired by Germany and Poland, but also like Scandinavia, like a lot of Nordic LARP.
I need to speak to an expert on Scandinavian LARP, by the way.
Mate, I can put you in touch with you.
I need to have an episode which is like just a hard out, nerd out, talking about design, mentality, ethos. I need to, because it keeps coming up. It keeps coming up, and I'm always interacting with it on this kind of bing. Like it's a one word or one sentence that I'll be like, that's fucking good. And they're like, oh, that's a Scandinavian thing, and I'm like, I must know more about this.
There's a convention that they do every year that goes between 4 Scandinavian countries, and they each host it year on year, and that's supposed to be like just incredible collaboration of different LARP styles from around the world, but specifically from like Northern Europe. And I feel like they're really leading the way in some of the ways we think about LARP as like a journey that you can go on in yourself. But yeah, we gave a tour to a Nordic LARP organizer before lockdown, and it was very eye-opening to see how he viewed the site compared to like how we would, because he would just point at like a muddy ditch and be like, oh, the Norwegians would love that. Like, they'll hide in that ditch for hours, just having their own fun, being miserable, because the whole type 2 fun kind of comes out.
At the same time, I should say, I'm the sort of person that on guard duty will make up a song, right, and sing it with my mate. I'm not interested in actually stoically fucking watching and being a guard. Like, I want to fuck around a lot. So maybe there's a limit to this stuff. That I can. I don't know. They'll probably answer that with, well, if your character thinks that, then you should do that. So I don't know. Fuck. We're actually kind of getting to the end of the amount of tape I have on the it's been so wonderful. I reckon we could go for another hour. Fucking easy. But we're going to call it there, basically. Thank you so much for having me here and inviting me down and let me talk. And thank you again for like being so welcoming of me actually releasing the episode and being so supportive of that, because it's always still like kind of nerve-wracking to release it.
Yeah, we love it.
But good luck with the events. Thank you all for listening, and thank you as always to our wonderful patrons. I've had a couple of really wonderful messages from our patrons recently. I won't say your names, but I really appreciate you reaching out and just letting me know what you're doing. It's been really fucking cool, so I appreciate that. Is there like a how would you, do you want to just say goodbye? Like, is there anything you want to say before we close out?
We see you in a field or forest soon.
Yeah, hopefully this forest.
Yeah, get here. Bye. Let Johnny fight you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.